Всем привет! Это вторая часть видео нашего разговора с Майком. Первая часть доступна по ссылочке в описании. Здесь мы также будем говорить о жизни в Америке и жизни в России. Вот. Приятного просмотра. How do you feel about tolerance in Omsk?
I haven't had any problems. In the you see the Ukrainian restaurant downtown. What is it called? Shinok or something? Right by the Uspensky Zabor there. There's the Ukrainian cafe. And you don't see any graffiti or anything. Everybody's Ukrainian. Everyone's partly Ukrainian. Their grandmother, their uncle or something. So there's no. I don't think there. Especially in Siberia, we have a lot of Tatars or mix of different people perhaps, but I think it's a good city for that.
And why do you think there aren't so many interracial problems among people from Kazakhstan or Azerbaijan?
I think we are kind of mixed, maybe because Russia was controlled by the Mongols at one time, and so they're used to interracial blood and things like that.
Maybe like the USSR people were one.
Yeah,
country,
I think so.
In Omsk, people are dissatisfied with everything. What's the reason? Why do you think?
Well, when you can't see painted lines on the road when you're driving, and it's so dangerous. And they don't even paint the lines, with good paint on the roads. Then something's wrong. And the same thing with the neighborhoods. It's so dark. There's no lights. Lesnoy Prayas, where the kids' schools are, there's no lights on the streets. So you kind of stumble around, and people travel to other cities and they see and they come back and they're dissatisfied. But the good thing, it wouldn't take that much work to get the city in a much better state.
Is it true that a lot of Americans take antidepressants, and why?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, like I may have written you. My parents were in this kind of golf community, palm trees, beautiful houses, and everything. But I think a lot of the women there. My mother was taking antidepressants. My sister was living in the same community taking antidepressants. They were handing those out in America like candy anyway. They had this opioid scandal there. Yeah, where there's nothing to do. It's so skutchna, I think, because life is a struggle. And they've got their palm trees and a pond, and they've got their big house, and there's nothing left to do. Maybe, I don't know. It can't answer the human soul, I think.
And can you say that some trends are being applied to Russia from America?
Oh, sure. Lots of the attitudes have come over, and I think that's why the Russians kind of are insecure about themselves, their culture.
Can you give an example, for example?
Oh, yeah, sure. With the vacations, you have so many students. They've been everywhere around Europe. I had one student, he's never been out of St. Petersburg. This year is the first year he's gone to Moscow. And you ask them, you say, well, is there anything about your country, the biggest country in the world, would you like to know? No, every city is the same. And then you ask, well, where have you been? Once to Petersburg. And they haven't seen anything, but they've been everywhere around the world, to Disney World, to Florida, to all these places. And as an American, I grew up taking pride in the country and the little bits of history here. It always kind of amazed me. How can they not take interest in Omsk? Okay, well, if you show this building is in Paris, on Lubinsky Prospect, a house, you say, this is my favorite cafe in Paris, then it's amazing. But if you say it's Omsk, it's just an old building, This type of attitude that kind of reflects, I think it's kind of changed right now. I think it's in a process of changing, though.
There are prejudices in Russia that American people mostly eat fast food. Is it true?
Probably too much, a lot of junk food. I don't know why the Americans are so fat. It's really just awful. You come and land there and it's like on the planet Mars or something. Everyone is huge. Terrible fat rolling everywhere.
But is it like in each state, or maybe there are some states?
No, it's the same everywhere from coast. Like I don't know if it's the hormones that they put in the water or what's the problem, but the terrible weight. Of course, they are in the cars all the time, and they're going to office jobs, but people have been working in office jobs for a long time. It shouldn't be that bad, you know.
In California, it's not really good to smoke or to drink alcohol. Do you know any other states where it's the same?
Maybe Colorado, where they like have the mountain air and they push like a lot of health consciousness.
Can you name 3 differences in mentality between America and Russia?
Yeah, 3 differences. Well, people are kind of the same. People are people, but then how does, what would be a difference there? I think Americans take more pride in their little town or community, where Russians are only Petersburg or only Moscow, and they overlook a lot of the history, or they don't value themselves and their history as much. Maybe I'm mistaken though. Maybe the type of students I have are the type that want to get abroad. Maybe it doesn't really reflect the typical Russian, maybe. That's one, but I can't, think of, maybe you could help me out with another question there to develop that.
Maybe about humor, how humor differs in Russia and America.
Yeah, my wife doesn't think I'm very funny most of the time.
But I mean, for example, in America you can make jokes about Biden or some important authorities, while in Russia you can make jokes about gay people or people with disabilities. Or
I don't know,
people.
I think a lot of jokes are on the authorities, you see them all the time.
In Russia?
Yeah, in a different way. Perhaps though, or maybe it's the attitude, I think Russians are, you kind of feel like you're under attack in some way. You can see it definitely now. And why would you try to destroy or hurt your own country? I think there's a sense of that, like maybe it's like a self-censorship, because in spite of all the difficulties and differences, and maybe you'd want to see something else here or there, people realize you have to pull together to, keep the country going.
I guess 20 years ago in KVN, they make jokes about Putin, about Brezhnev, anyone, and it was really hilarious. But nowadays, I guess if they mention someone,
you have to be careful.
Yeah.
Well, we can't really blame Russia for all of that though, because from that time, you've had a NATO expansion to the east, and again, I think the country is sensing. The Russians didn't want all of that. They wanted to adapt to a new kind of world, to be part of, trade and stuff, but they weren't given the opportunity, and that's part of the history. And I think as people, maybe the government got worried about that and then started to, okay guys, cut off the joking because we need to, I'm not saying it's good or bad, I'm just saying I think that's probably the mentality that under attack again as a nation.
Popular to show off, to boast with your money. Why do you think is that? Is it insecurity?
Well, that might be changing now too, as a lot of people are looking, when the oligarchs got their yachts stolen, the Russians probably were the happiest, I think. I think it might flip that trend finally. When they had the racing cars of all the exclusive cars in Moscow, everybody's, get them, so in part, I think that's the older trend, I'm going to get my piece of cake and then I'm going to go live in Europe or America. I'm going to show everybody, like in America, I'm going to have my house and my swimming pool, and I'm going to show everybody on the internet how successful I am. And the Russians are attracted to that as well.
If it were possible, what Russian trait would you bring to American society to make life better?
Trait, well,
and vice versa.
We have the tremendous blessing of having the Orthodox Church here. So they are just like a soup of different beliefs and sectant religions, and there's nothing to grab onto to stabilize society. I know because I grew up in a lot of sectant different denominations as a Protestant, and here you can say, well, I'm Orthodox, this is the church, this is our set of beliefs that we should hold to. There's something there that's holding society in a better way. And that really, I say that's a big problem in America, because it's also up in the air all the time. There's nothing, foundation really to hold on to, I think.
And what about American trait to Russian society?
What could make it better?
Yeah.
Well, it's the small stuff, like lines on the road and, driving with some sanity a little bit, Okay, that why hurry so much? You only have one life to live. Let's not risk it to get home. Yesterday, you see the cars just weaving in. My wife and daughter were in a terrible accident. A taxi driver went on the other side of the road at full speed against the traffic. I don't know how they lived through it. So.
Last 3 questions. Top 3 favorite Russian writers.
Top 3. Well, I like Gogol. I think he's really funny, and also in a sad sort of way. I like Chekhov, and I like Zozhenko. I like his humor there.
And composers.
Composers, I like the. Oh, here I'm gonna. Well, there's so many nice composers. Glinka. There's Magorsky. Pictures at an exposition, of course, Tchaikovsky, but Stravinsky and Shostakovich. They've got tremendous. What? Rachmaninoff as well. Yeah.
And the last question: how many bears have you seen in Siberia?
How many what?
Bears.
Bears. No bears.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you for asking me.
Ну вот и все. Спасибо, что досмотрели видео. Если у вас есть какие-то пожелания, дополнения, пожалуйста, оставляйте ваши комментарии. Hasta la vista.